opposite route of Mitsugi in making my list of what makes a badass and just picking the most token, easily identifiable first people that came to mind. And the first one was Motoko Kusanagi, aka the Major from Ghost in the Shell,
The Major.
who, you know, the badass has a lot of definitions and meaning. If you look it up on Google, it says a tough, uncompromising, or intimidating person. And I think no character envelops how many ways they will beat you up as the Major. Because yeah, you get some guys who are super strong, like some of the characters from Vinland Saga, or some characters are like super smart and can outwit you. But she is like technologically, physically, intellectually, just across the board better than you in every single way. And there is no situation, game, contest, or competition that you could even come close to sniffing her abilities. And just her raw, just energy output is so overwhelming. It's she's a badass. I mean, anyone I put the not safe for work link on there,
I
but the
saw
gif of her ripping the tank apart and kind of uh doing what it does to her in response is just that's uncompromising determination.
It's
And that's
barely
a
not safe
badass
for
scene.
work.
It's barely not safe for work. I just figured maybe not for the the Twitch and the YouTube. Too hot for Twitch. But
Yeah.
it's she's awesome. And even different iterations on her are also really cool. So the Major across time and space remains a badass.
Moving right along. So yeah, so I named I said Namba Hibito is a badass in space. And this next character is a tasty badass. So this list is just so stupid. So I went with
You're wild for this one. This is know what happened, Mitz? I think we had Andrew on the podcast one week. And he just went off the rails with his best first episode in anime, and you're like, I want to get weird with it too. So let's hear this next one.
So, for those of you that have seen Excel Saga, which is a really funny anime from the 90s, and I definitely recommend checking it out because it's just super bizarre in a lot of ways. Excel, I think her name is literally Excel because it's so stupid. She has a dog named Menchi, which is essentially means like diced meat, I think, is essentially how that Menchi Katsu is. Not my favorite, but that's definitely what that means. And she's constantly threatening to eat him during the entire course of the show, so much so that the ending theme song of this anime has him basically singing the theme song in dog, like, row, 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 like a dog. And while she sprinkles like salt and pepper on him from above, and he's singing about how he's about to be eaten. So he's a badass because he has such mental fortitude, the ability to literally just stick with it and live with Excel and tolerate the mental and physical abuse and the threat of being eaten at all times is just a level of mental fortitude that I can't possibly even wrap my head around. So I'm definitely going with Menchi. And also just to give Excel Saga a shout out because it is a pretty wild fucking anime with a lot of good parody stuff in it. And Excel is annoying though. She's one of the most hyper anime characters you're ever gonna see. So, but yeah, it's a pretty fun anime.
Yeah, you'll know by the end of episode 1 if this is a show for you or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, at first when I saw your list, like I did not know who Menchi was, but I have seen the first couple episodes of Excel Saga, so now I realize who he was. But when you put in the little superlative of a tasty badass, I thought Menchi was going to be like one of your very bodacious waifus.
Oh, well, I do love a bodacious waifu.
Honestly,
so I'm glad to know that it's not tasty in a sexual manner, but tasty as in an actual tasty manner.
Honestly, my first thought was that Mitsugi drastically misspelled Senshi from Dungeon Meshi, the dwarf who does all the cooking. I was like, he's kind of a badass who makes tasty things. Like, I guess I could see it.
That's a good guess.
Next that I'm going to talk about here on my list, I wanted to give praise to the badass of wolf children, Hana. So that's the main character, the mother in this movie. And I love wolf children. It's about a woman who meets a man who happens to be like a werewolf or like just a wolf. I'm not sure, but wolf, half man, half wolf.
Part-time wolf.
They get together. She gets pregnant. She has 2 kids by him, who are also wolf children, who are the wolf children. And then, spoiler alert for the first like 10 minutes of this movie, like her husband, I don't know if they actually get married, but like her significant other, the wolf man, he gets killed. And now she's on her own with these 2 children that sometimes turn into wolves, and she's trying to protect them from, getting this secret out to the world that they are not completely human. So she's struggling. She's struggling throughout this movie, and it's a really good movie if you want to know just how hard it is to be a mother, because that's what it's all about. And so she makes so many sacrifices. She moves to the countryside. She buys this rundown house. She fixes it up. She gets a farm going to sustain her family and all the other problems that come with having children. And then at the end of the movie, one of her children decides to leave for good and to become a wolf in the wilderness. And when I think about how she did so much for her children to help them grow, to be a good mother, and she's forced to say goodbye to one of her kids forever, that freaking, it hurt. It hurt so much.
In your cocoa?
And yeah, it really does. So yeah, she's a freaking badass because not only is she like just a badass mom, she's a badass woman and a badass of anime.
She didn't even get paid $4,000 to go out there. She did it on her own.
Yeah, what the fuck?
She missed out. That's the real tragedy, is she missed out on that sweet dinero.
Well,
she's a badass. Moms are badasses.
The countryside in Japan now would be perfect for her because there's nobody there. You could hide your kids so easily.
Yeah, her wolf husband wouldn't have got the money anyway.
She has no friends. She has no family except for her children. One of them ends up leaving her forever. Can you imagine?
Mason?
So that's her.
Yeah, it was sad enough to make you go ooh woo. I'll make this one quick. It's got to be Guts from Berserk. Obviously, is there any more of a badass character than him? Some may
Probably
say
not.
so. They're wrong. He's just the peak. And so many times in anime, a main character will meet a villain or something who's really badass and cool and strong, and then they defeat them, and then they join the party. And then the second they join the party, they kind of just become a dumpy little follower and no longer are a badass. So to me, a badass has to be like enduring and consistent and just struggling and fighting for your life. And I think that's Guts literally every single second of his journey. It sucks to be Guts, but only Guts could be him. And that's what makes him such a badass. So obviously, I don't need to explain anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too many characters more badass than this. Honestly,
no, and he's a big boy. He's a strong, beefy boy. He eats his corn, and he's big and he's scary, and that's awesome.
If he wasn't mentioned in this topic, I'm sure we would have gotten canceled.
Exactly, there would have been riots in the street. So that's.
Well, what about
role.
Menchie though?
I mean,
you're right.
A psychological
Menchie.
badass.
Like people were going to go to war for Menchie.
I would.
Yeah, to eat him.
You know, it's so funny. We're like I said, we're going back to Japan, and Pancake's number one thing she wants to do is eat at Katsuya. That's her. That's like where
Did she not have it last time?
She did. We had Katsuya.
Oh, she just wants it again.
What's Katsuya?
It's just like
The
Japanese fast food, basically, but it's. But you gotta understand, Japanese fast food is so much healthier and better than our fast food. I mean, they're serving you like soup with root vegetables in it and all this, and rice and fried shrimp and beef cutlets and all the pork cutlets. And anyway, you have to, but you can get Menchie at Katsuya, I think so. Let's see, the next one is Sosuke Sagara from Full Metal Panic, and the reason I called him a versatile badass. I feel like in anime, so many characters that like pilot mechas pretty much just pilot the mecha. So like we have a friend who's coming over tonight, and she really liked the first episode of Evangelion. So we're gonna keep watching Evangelion. And it's like Shinji, he's just piloting the mecha. He's not going to be able to do anything else besides that. Sosuke Sagara, he is like your soldier of fortune, high school badass gun nerd, but he also pilots the fucking mech robots. So he's able to do it all. And I'm not saying he's the only one, but it's he's just I don't know. Full Metal Panic is such a cool anime that I just feel like it needs to get a little bit of respect here and there because the last season was so bad and kind of fizzled out and nobody gave a shit that I feel like it should be mentioned. But yeah, Sosuke Sagara, Full Metal Panic, a really good anime and a really cool character. So,
all right. Next that I want to speak about on my list, I feel like we have to mention him here, just like Guts. Erwin from Attack on Titan, because of like his final act as commanding officer of the Survey Corps, like going against the Beast Titan in the face of certain death. Not only does he resign himself to certain death on a suicide mission, but somehow he is able to stir up the courage of everybody else to do the exact same thing. It's not many people would do that themselves, but there are even less people that could convince everybody else to do it with you. So I don't think I need to really explain too much further on why Erwin is a badass, because the moment you realize that you're going to be pummeled by gigantic boulders raining down from the sky, and you're going to march towards that in the front of that line, badassery.
I wasn't sure who you were going to pick from Attack on Titan, but I knew no matter who it was, you were going to make sure to spoil as many of your shows.
Hey, it's been long enough.
It's hard. But no, that's who I would have picked as well. So I agree because
people should
Levi's
come
just
into
too
this
small.
topic knowing we're going to
He's a
spoil.
small child. You cannot take him seriously. He's not imposing enough.
No, Levi is a badass, but I think Erwin has like a specific reason as to why he is a badass.
Mm-hmm.
Is that moment.